Welcome back everyone, it's AJ Barce, and in this video I'm going to do a very short rundown on how you can use Logitech Capture and using it with a full screen PowerPoint. Now you're going to see over here to my right that I've got my desktop displayed and I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to be using for demonstration. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm using the split view right now, and if I were to bring up the app so that I can show you what this looks like, I'm using this 1x2 down here. It's the second from the last icon. And by doing so, what I'm able to do is basically have a full screen to my right, and I'm kind of tucked over to the left here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and minimize this because I've already hit the big red button to hit record. And what I'm going to do is minimize this, and no differently than I usually do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into presenter mode. So coming down here to the kind of the bottom near the zoom, I'm going to hit the little box with the slideshow icon. And just like that, on my screen, all I see is my PowerPoint. And I can move my mouse as I normally would, etc. Especially if you're doing demonstrations, this is really nice. And what I can do is just hit next and go on my merry way. Now what this does is, as you can see, it keeps over here to the right, my PowerPoint in full screen and myself over here tucked to the left. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, man, maybe I don't want to be on the screen all the time. Well, no problem. What we can do is, for instance, if I didn't want to do that, if I just wanted to kickstart my PowerPoint, like, welcome, in this PowerPoint, we're going to be talking about your home as a studio, la-di-da-di-da. On both Mac or PC, what we're able to do is we can bring up the task launcher and switch back over to Logitech. So on a PC, I believe it's Control Tab or Alt Tab, I can't remember, but on a Mac, it's Command Tab. And what this does, it brings up everything that we were running, including Logitech Capture. So when I do, Logitech Capture comes back up, and yes, this does show up in your recording, so you will have to edit this part out. But what you're able to do is you can also switch back over to, say, a picture-in-picture mode. And much like I brought up before, what we can do is we can set up ourselves, if we have a green screen behind us, where we'd like to be, and then perhaps come in and adjust our green screen. And now, if I come back out and minimize Logitech Capture, go back to my PowerPoint, you can see now I'm just doing my normal thing, floating over the top of doing my presentation. Now, again, I'm still in the display, but maybe you want to be removed completely. That's totally fine. Again, we can hit Alt Tab or Command Tab on Mac, go into Logi Capture and launch it back. Oof, there's that cascade effect. And again, I can just remove myself completely by going to number 2. And again, I will minimize this and go back into my presentation. And now you just have my sweet, dulcet tones of my voice as I go through my PowerPoint. Now, another avenue of going about this is if you're in the Logi app, you'll notice over here on the left-hand side an Alt in the menu. And what this Alt key does is it allows you to set up quick keyboard shortcuts. And by default, they'll have some presets like Control R for start and stop recording, or even Control 1, 2, and 3 to switch your scenes using keystrokes. If you don't find that helpful, you can go in and edit and change them to whatever your liking is. But if you're trying to do it as a faster way, kind of like what we do in OBS, this would be a way of going about it without having to go into that task launcher every time. Again, by going the way of the keyboard shortcut, you could potentially do everything in one take without having to do any editing. Now, speaking of editing, I say that, and in the same vein, there is no such thing as a true one-take wonder. We all find mistakes, or we all find things that we need to change even as the months go by. We should, as educators, revisit the content that we create and update as needed. Now, when you do that, of course, that means there's a level of editing you have to do in post-production. But that's okay. You can go to any of the modules for the STC that revolve around either DaVinci Resolve or HitFilm, iMovie, Final Cut, Premiere, and we can help you edit those parts that you've taken out. But the important thing is that you've gotten good video, a good capture of your presentation, and more importantly, good audio. So that wraps up this very brief introduction on how to use PowerPoint and Logitech. It is a little bit janky because you do have to go back and forth, but it's a really powerful app if you just want to be either floating over the top or if you just want to be pushed to the side and record yourself as you're going through your lecture. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.